Let's start with an uncomfortable question. Have you ever looked at your child after a long day of school and wondered, is this it? All this homework, all this pressure, all this time, is it truly lighting up their mind, or is it quietly dimming their spark? I want you to know that if you have that nagging feeling, you are not crazy. You are perceptive. Because the truth is, much of our modern education system, despite its best intentions, is operating on an old blueprint. It is filled with what I call educational toxins that can slowly erode your child's natural genius. My name is Angeline, and over the next 15 minutes, we are going to go on a journey together. We are not just going to talk about problems. We are going to perform a complete educational detox. I'm going to give you a practical step-by-step plan you can start at home to rewire your child's brain for true lifelong learning. This is about taking back the narrative of a child's potential. If you are ready, let's begin. To fix this, we first need to become master diagnosticians. We need to spot the invisible toxins. And in my work, I see three of them over and over again. The first toxin is what I call the tyranny of the right answer. This is the silent killer of curiosity. It is the unspoken rule that for every question, there is one correct answer, usually in the teacher's edition of the textbook. When a child's brain is trained to only look for one answer, it stops exploring. It stops asking, what if? It loses the muscle for divergent thinking. The brain is literally pruning away the creative pathways it isn't using. Then there is the second toxin, and it is a heavy one, the achievement anxiety. This isn't about wanting to do well. This is a chronic, low-grade fear of failure, of not being good enough, of disappointing you. When a child lives in this state, their brain is constantly in fight or flight. The amygdala, the alarm bell in their brain, is ringing all the time. And when the alarm rings, it shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the very part of the brain we need for complex problem solving, for creativity, for deep thought. We are quite literally stressing our children out of their own intelligence. And the third toxin is perhaps the most insidious, the extrinsic motivation trap. Our system runs on external rewards, gold stars, A's, honor rolls. And while that seems motivating, it does something dangerous. It teaches the child that the reason to learn is to get the reward, not for the sheer joy of learning itself. It outsources their internal drive. So we end up with a child who doesn't ask, what fascinates me, but what do I need to do to get the A? This kills the very engine of lifelong learning. So I want you to think right now. Which of these feels most familiar in your home? The loss of curiosity, the weight of anxiety, or the what's in it for me attitude? Just sit with that for a moment. Now, this is where we roll up our sleeves. This is the how. This is the three-phase protocol, and I want you to follow it in order. You must build the foundation first. The goal here is simple. We need to make your home a sanctuary for curiosity. We need to detoxify the environment. So let's start with something you can do tomorrow. I want you to get a simple notebook and call it your child's why journal. Here's how it works. After school, instead of asking, what did you learn? Or what grade did you get? I want you to ask one beautiful open-ended why question. Why do you think leaves change color? Why do we have tears when we cry? Why do some songs get stuck in our heads? Now, here is the most important part. You do not correct them. You do not give them answer. You just listen with wonder. If they say, I think leaves change color because fairies paint them, you say, that's a fascinating idea. Tell me more about these fairies. You are not cultivating misinformation. You are performing neurosurgery on their curiosity. You are telling their brain your questions and your ideas are valuable here. Next, I wanted to introduce a ritual in your family that might sound strange but is incredibly powerful. I call it the celebration of the beautiful oops. Once a week, maybe at the dinner table, I wanted to have everyone share one thing they tried and failed at. It could be you, the parent. You could say, "This week I tried a new recipe and I totally burned it." And your child might say, "I tried to build a fort and it collapsed." And when they share it, you celebrate it. You say, "Wow, you were so brave to try that. What did you learn from the collapse?" You are systematically rewiring your child's brain to see failure not as a threat, but as data. You are building resilience neuron by neuron. Once the environment is safe, we feel the engine. We need to rebuild your child's internal drive. And the single most powerful way to do this is to implement what I call the sacred genius hour. This is non-negotiable. 1 hour, one afternoon a week, where your child is the complete CEO of their own learning. They can learn about anything. Minecraft, dinosaurs, how to draw manga, the physics of a soccer ball, anything. Your jobs are to be a resource and an enthusiastic audience. No tests, no reports, just pure undiluted passion. I had a client whose son was completely disengaged from school. We started Genius Hour and he decided he wanted to learn about ancient weapons. For weeks, he built catapults and trebuchets out of popsicle sticks. He was learning physics, history, geometry, but he didn't know it. He was just following his joy. And that light that came back into his eyes, that is the light of intrinsic motivation. You are giving that back to your child. At the same time, we need to change the very language we use. We need to become masters of process praise. So instead of saying, "You're so smart," which ties their identity to a fixed trait, I want to praise the strategy, the effort, the process. Say things like, "I'm so impressed with how you concentrated on that problem," or "The way you kept trying different approaches was brilliant," or "I love the detail you put into that drawing." This teaches their brain that growth comes from effort, not from a fixed label. It makes them hungry for challenge. Now, we take all that curiosity and motivation and we arm it with the tools of a critical thinker. This is where we play a game I love called the source detective. When your child comes to you with a fact, especially from YouTube or TikTok, don't just accept it. Say, "That's interesting. Let's be detectives. Where did that come from? Who is telling us this? Why might they be saying it? Can we find two other sources that agree?" You are not teaching them to be cynical. You are teaching them to be discerning. You are building a brain that questions and analyzes, a brain that cannot be easily manipulated. And finally, we reframe their entire approach to learning through project-based learning. Take whatever they are learning in school and turn it into a mission. If they are studying the rainforest, don't just memorize the layers. Say, "You are a conservationist. Your mission is to design a protected area for a new species of frog. Where in the rainforest will you put it and why? What will it need to survive?" You are forcing their brain to apply knowledge, to connect dots, to create. This is how you build an innovator's brain, not a test taker's brain. You have a map now. You see the 3 toxins, and you have a clear 3-phase protocol to not just counteract them, but to build something more beautiful and resilient in their place. This isn't a quick fix. This is a new way of being. Start with the why journal this week. Start celebrating the beautiful oops. You don't have to do it all at once, but you must start. If this deep dive gave you a new sense of hope and direction, please do me a favor. Share this video, share it with one other parent who is asking these same hard questions. Let's build a movement of parents who are consciously detoxifying their children's minds. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell because our work is not done. We are tackling that next and you won't want to miss it. Now, talk to me. I have spent this time talking to you, but now I need to listen. What is the one insight from today that you are most excited to try? What resonated most deeply? Let me know in the comments below. I am ready to answer every single one. Thank you for your time, for your courage, and for your profound commitment to your child's future. Now, let's go do the work. I'll see you in my next video.